Okay.
Lovely. Hello, everyone. So this is another part of our series for the Black History Month feature. Just to begin, so that we start off in the right way, we're currently situated on the Lekwungen and Wasanich and Songhay-speaking peoples' territories. And whenever we do any sort of work, it's important to situate ourselves and make sure that along with discussion and things that we do, that we situate ourselves and understand the colonial histories and the histories that have occurred before us and are ongoing on these lands. So without further ado, I want to spread the wealth and introduce our guest here. How's it going, Summer?
Going well, apart from the weather, but it's well. Yeah.
Good, good. Tell me a bit about yourself.
Okay, well, my name is Summer Okibe, and I'm an LL.M candidate at the University of Victoria. I'm Nigerian, I'm Black, and I'm African. So I'm currently researching on the rights of Indigenous people in Canada, which, it's obviously about human rights as well, if you look at it that way. So yeah, so that's what I've been doing all along, trying to write a couple of research papers for school, for personal, knowledge and all of that. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. It's so great that the intersections of, being a Black woman, being African, and all the different things that you're exposed to. What kind of things are you working on right now?
Right now, I'm currently researching on Indigenous people's right with respect to land claims in Canada. There are a lot of issues, like trajectory issues, as to Aboriginal rights, or who has this land and who doesn't, or you don't have any right to claim your lands and all of that. So it's more like Canada is indirectly under the umbrella of colonialism, even in broad daylight. So in as much as it's not focused on Black people, but it's focused on human rights, because Indigenous people have the right to be heard. They are human beings like everybody else. So that's currently what I'm focusing on. While I was in Nigeria, I was a lawyer, still a lawyer. I was practicing. So my area of practice was on international human rights law, where we had to, advocate for gender equality. We had to advocate against violence against women and all of that. Yeah.
Wow, that's tremendous. And it's really cool that while you were practicing in Nigeria, you continued on here in Canada and continued that work. And it's such important work when it comes to, even when we talk about Black and Indigenous sovereignty, the importance of uplifting not just, Black people, but also the peoples who were here before us. So I commend you for that. That's amazing.
Thank you.
So what is the importance of Black History Month, and what does that represent for you?
Well, the Black History Month is very important because it means everybody's trying to respect and recognize Black people, trying to recognize that a lot of people have done a lot of work, and that at some point they were either sidelined, you can hear them, and then few years to come, then you get to hear, oh, these people did a lot of things. So it means a lot to me, because not just because I'm Black, but because I'm also human, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as a Nigerian, there are a lot of Nigerians that I know that did a lot of work worldwide, and they made history. And then at some point, they were not really celebrated over there because they were Blacks. So to me, it's very important. I'm really, happy that Vancouver Island, Human International Rights, are actually doing something to that regard, because it shows that they are actually in support of the race Black color. Yeah, so it means a lot to me, because a lot of people are now beginning to recognize and respect Black people, which wasn't there before. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's super important when we talk about Black history is, as you're talking about, there's many Nigerians, there's many forms of Blackness. We're not all the same. And what I find is so beautiful about this month is the ability to showcase the different strengths and beauty of Blackness. So yeah, I completely echo that it's huge to have a month dedicated, which it should be every month and every year.
Like I was about to say that.
Yeah, it should be all the time, but even more so in a month of love and a month of recognition of that sort. So I think I agree with
Yeah.
you on that. Is there any specific Black figures in history or in your life that inspire you?
Well, now that's a tricky question because personally, I have a lot of people that inspire me in every angle of my life, academic, career, no, different areas. I have different people, African people that, actually inspire me. But then, to be specific, I'll just mention a few. Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, who is the current Director General of the World Trade Organization. She's actually the first African Black woman to be the Director General of WTO. Then we'll talk about late Dora Akunyili, Professor Dora Akunyili. She was the former Director General of NAFDAC. NAFDAC is National Agency for Food and Drugs Administration Control. So she was the first, not really the first, but then she did a good work, a tremendous work while she was at office. And, she stopped a lot of drugs, a lot of ill drugs, anything that was not, contraband. She had to stop it. There was nothing like bribery and corruption during her regime. So she was really a powerful woman that I looked up to, like, oh, if she could do something like this in my country, she was good. Then talk about Kamala Harris. She's the first female Black vice president of the United States of America. Talk about Barack Obama. He was the first African American president of the United States. So, like, you'll find out that there, a trace of so many Africans or Black people that have actually done something. So I look up to them because I see myself like, if they could do this, I can, right? Because sometimes, coming from my country where we were colonized by the British, we have this perception that, we can't achieve much. Everything has to be, oh, they have to do it first. So we're just like, whatever they dump at us, that's what we pick up. But these people, they went for it. They didn't have to wait for somebody to tell them that. Who would have believed that Barack Obama would have been the president of the United States? Or who would have believed that Kamala, let's not talk about these people. I'm really particular about Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala because not just that she's African, not just that she's Black, she's Nigerian, not just that, she's Igbo. And that's who I am, right? And if you look at the issues, oh, is she qualified for the position simply because she's Black? If she was white, would they be talking about her qualification? That's the question. But because she's Black, they had to start asking questions like, is she qualified for the position? Now, her profile said it all. She was more than qualified. But then they still had to have issues. Oh, she's Nigerian. Oh, she's Black. That's what I see. Even though they were trying to hide under the umbrella of, no, they're not racist. They are. So, but the fact that, after everything, she won and she's the current DG, I'm impressed and I was moved. And I'm sure the whole world was, because everybody's talking about Okonjo-Iweala. Everybody has, her in their mouth, like, oh, she could do this, she could attain this height. And a lot of other people that have done nice stuff, talk about first female president of the Supreme Court, stuff like that really inspire me. Yeah, because I'm actually very, very, very interested in stuff like that. Yeah.
Wow, yeah, it's amazing in terms of what representation does, not just for perception within Black, Indigenous, people of color communities, but just in terms of public pressures, in terms of whether or not we see if their work is worthy or equivalent to their white counterparts. So it's important, like as you were mentioning, the importance of having people like that in these positions to showcase that it can be done. And with that, it's a like as you're saying, like who would have thought that Barack Obama would have been president, and Kamala Harris and all the other greats that you mentioned. It's super important for representation to happen, but also for the structures to allow for them and for more people to be in those positions. For those that don't know watching, what is Igbo? I know what it is, but so just so people know, who are the Igbo?
Okay, first of all, when you come to Nigeria, we have different ethnic groups. We have the Igbo, we have the Yorubas, we have the Hausas. Now, these are different languages. So we recognize ourselves by the languages that we speak, right? So I'm Igbo. So Igbo is a language that is known by a group of states in Nigeria. We have Enugu State, we have Anambra State, we have Abia State, we have Ebonyi, we have Imo State, and then some part of Port Harcourt, they actually understand Igbo. So Igbo is like a group of people, right? Okay, to make this even more, interesting, Igbo people are the most marginalized people in Nigeria. The politicians, every political gains go to the outsiders, right? So the Igbo people are now clamoring for what we call the indigenous people of Biafra. So you can imagine why it's a big deal that an Igbo woman, got to that point in her life, right? Like it's actually a very great height because you barely hear of that. That's why I use the word that's not just that she's African or Black or Nigerian. She's also Igbo. Like I have to bring it down home. She's Igbo. Yeah. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I think it's super important. As you were talking previously about Indigenous peoples and kind of situating ourselves, I think it's important, as you were saying, the importance of not just outlining the different intersection of Blackness, but showing, it goes down to tribe, it goes down to what country and continent, things like that. That really makes a difference in your experiences and how you move in different spaces, and that even impacts how people perceive you and how people would treat you depending on the various identities you possess. So yeah, and kind of looking more to you and kind of your experiences and things that you've been able to accomplish. If you could look back in time, what advice would you give to your teenage self?
Well, I would actually advise myself to still be me. I don't think I would do anything different. Rather, I would read more.
Read more.
Like when I was younger, I would read more. Like I'm reading right now. I'm reading more. So that's the only thing I might say because I'm still me. I think I would still tell myself to be me, to be myself. To when I was small, I had this small journal that I always wrote down stuff. I was always moved by how people of color were being treated. Like I could go and read some documentaries about how we were colonized, about how not just us, about how other African countries were being colonized. I was really interested in the wars between the whites and the blacks, talk about Mali, talk about other African countries. Like I had this when I think I was like 10, 12. So I had like a journal where I was always writing down stuff like, what do I want to be when I grow up? I want to be a lawyer because my voice will be heard. That's the only way they can hear me speak. That's the only way they can keep quiet when I talk.
Mm-hmm.
So if I was something else, I don't know if they were going to listen to me. If I was a doctor, I don't know how I can, pass the message across. But as a lawyer, this can help me stop, at least to some extent, get something done. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't think I was going to do anything different, but rather read more. Yeah.
Read more. Yeah. Do you have any books in mind that you would kind of push towards in for your teenage self?
Hmm. The thing is, I would say The Secret. There's this book called The Secret. It it kind of I'm not quite sure of the there are so many authors that tried to rewrite that book, but that book has a lot of secrets. It opens you up. It brings up everything about you. It has every stage in your life, whatever you're thinking about, it helps you to think at the right direction. It helps you, so sometimes I just imagine, what if I didn't follow this path in my life? Where would I have been? Would I have thought of, oh, okay, I want to be a professor before I'm 35? So would I have thought of, oh, I want to be the first female professor in my house, stuff like that?
Mm-hmm.
Would I have been thinking towards another direction, or would I have, forgotten about my dreams and just, whatever life throws at me, I'm gonna take it? I'll tell you a story. When I was about to enter university, my dad said he didn't want me to study law, that he wanted me to be a medical doctor, and I said, hello, I want to be a lawyer. He said he doesn't know who's instigating me, and all that. And I said, no one is instigating. As a matter of fact, I look up to my aunt, who in our house, she was the first magistrate and she's the first judge. Her name is Linda Okibe. And I respect her a lot. She has so much authority and power. When she speaks, you listen. So I really wanted to be like her. And my dad was like, no, you don't what my dad was like, no. When you travel, they're looking for doctors, nurses, they're not looking for lawyers. And I'm like, that's not what I want to be. And we kept fighting. And when I wrote the first exam, I didn't get into law. The school I wrote one exam. It's more like an entrance exam. So I didn't get law. I got another course. And my dad was like, you see, it's not the will of God for you to study. And I was like, I'm still going to try. So that year there was another slot for another school. My dad was like, you just have the last chance. So you decide right now to study medicine and we start all over, or you stay at home. And then lo and behold, the result came out and I did so well. He was like, don't laugh, don't calm, don't be excited, because he was like, because it states that you're not sure you're going to get in even if you have high scores. And I was like, I'm going to get in. And then the next thing, my name came out in the first list. I got admission to study law. And he was like, are you serious? You just beat me to my own game. And I was like, yes, I did. He was like, okay, let's see what happens. Make sure you finish. And then I got to school. It was tough. And after everything I was done, I went to Nigerian law school. I was called to the bar. When I told him I was going for my master's, I was like, in law? I said, yes, in law, actually. And I said, why? I said, because I want to be a professor. I said, oh my God, what am I, right now, he loves what I'm doing because he could see that I've been, I never gave up. Imagine if my parents could actually tell me what to do and I gave. So that book, helped me to always focus on your dreams. If you know your dreams are valid, you have to show people that they are truly valid. And how do you show them that your dreams are valid? You show them that your dreams are valid by actually acting towards it, fighting for what it's yours. What do you want? So I feel like that's why I keep saying I don't think I would have advised myself to do anything less or better, because I would have still done the same thing. I would have still studied law. I would have still, tried to become a professor. I would have still tried to bag one or two, degrees that summer.
Yeah. That's great. That's a fantastic story. Like the idea that you had to push through, even to convince those that you care about and that care about you about your dream. And it's interesting when we talk about our dreams, and it's not just you alone. It's a journey with those also in proximity to you. So it's fantastic to see that, you prove your dad wrong and you're like, I'm doing it. Here I am. So yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. And seeing how you are in law, I think this is a very well-suited question for you. What does human rights mean to you?
It means everything. Think about it. What is human rights? Human rights is more like the basic rights every human being has. Right to life, right to fairness, right to equity, right to dignity, right to freedom of religion, right, name it. So what is not human rights? It's everything. Where your right stops, that's where the right of others starts. So what isn't human rights? Because when you're acting, you're just making sure that, you're not, infringing on the rights of the next person. So human right means a lot to me, because I like talking about where I come from, because there are a lot of irregularities. I'm sorry. So in my country, no one cares about your right. You find out, for instance, I said Igbo, now I'm going to talk about the Hausas, right? You find out that there's some people in the Hausa community that, as a married woman, there are things you're not supposed to do. Like, in short, generally, you're submissive to your husband to the point that if your husband should cheat on you, he says sorry, and that's it. But then if you should cheat on him, that's the end. So many other things that, as when you start thinking about it, you're like, what of her right as to, okay, let's not talk about marriage. Let's talk about job offers. There's some jobs that they don't give to women just because they are women, let alone in the Western world, where they don't give jobs to blacks because they are blacks, forgetting the fact that they could actually do the job more than the whites. So if we start checking it, there are so many, human rights issues all over the world. If we even bring it down to your home country, you find out that even within yourselves, there is even the same infringement of human rights. So it means everything you can think of. If someone should bash your car, that's against the violation of your rights, right? So like it's everything. When you look left, right, center, it's just at your face. It's just that we should just try and respect the right of the next person. Once you're able to do that, you're able to know that, oh, this is actually human. This person you're dealing with is not some animal. You know, we could do things to animals and then I don't think there are laws, right? But then this is a human being. Talk about Black Lives Matter. See how the blacks are being killed by the white policemen and nothing is done about it. Until when the blacks, went around the streets and were like protesting against it, that is when people started hearing about it. So you find out that if the white people have not figured that this blacks is seeing is, speaking of which, did we have a choice to be black? I'm sure if you were asked to, choose your color, you probably not choose black. So even the whites that are, treating us as if we're some dirt, like Stephen Harper said, dark, short, British and nasty. And I'm like, did you choose to be white, Stephen Harper? Did you choose to be white? I didn't choose to be black. So why do you have to treat us as if we had a choice? We didn't have no choice. So if you look at it that way, you find out that, human rights is just everything. So until we are able to figure out that, oh, we are treating this person as a human being, just as ourselves, you know how you love yourself? I think you should love your neighbor like that. Once you do that, you've respected the person's right. Yeah. So it's everything to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's huge. A really strong point that you mentioned here is the importance of understanding that human rights is literally everywhere. And when we don't see that, oftentimes we see, like when we talk about things like homelessness, for example, oftentimes you see it in statistics. We put human life and quantify it. So it's, oh, these groups of people, or oftentimes these groups of people are human individuals. They're individuals. And so I think with a lot of things like this, it's important that we have to just bring it down to basics. How can I care for another person? And that takes, number one, centering their voice, listening to what they have to say. Number two is listening to what they have to say and applying it and amplifying and uplifting their perspectives so that, you can care, you can have a closer proximity to them so that they do feel heard, so that, people of color don't have to march in the streets and feel unsafe and prove their humanity. So I think you really touched a very, very strong point.
Because if you, even currently in Canada, let's talk about the Indigenous people. Now, there's been this high waves of Indigenous women and children being kidnapped and murdered. How many cases have you heard?
Mm-hmm.
But when you just hear that a white woman or a white child was kidnapped, a white Canadian, and see the police people let loose, everybody's looking for this child. Are the Indigenous peoples, are they not also human beings? So these are the issues. Until we figure out that these people are also humans, and it could also happen to us. The way you treat the white people, that is the same way you should treat the Black people or the people of color. It's gonna go a long way, really.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And so with the theme of the series called The Future is Now, when discussing issues around race and what conversations and actions are missing or needed, how do you think we can contribute to that better future?
Okay, so we can contribute to, there are various ways we can contribute actually. So we'll talk about encouraging objective selection process, and I'll explain. Now, for instance, if we, let's say at the United Nations, there are several people who threw in applications, right? And 30% are white, 70% are people of color, Black, right? Why should the white people be favored more than the Blacks simply because they're white? We might not know this because we're not in the recruitment process, but these are things that we don't even know that happen behind the closed doors. So for us to be very strategic and for us to, focus on the future, I think the best thing to do is, who is good for this job? Who is qualified? who's this person that irrespective of his or her skin color can do the job, can be very objective. So you pick someone, whether irrespective of the color, you pick someone who is very good for the job. For instance, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, she was awesomely good. Her profile was, top notch. It was undeniably, like, you can't argue. It's not in contention as to whether she, because the Americans tried to bring in some sort of reasons why she wasn't qualified, and then at the end of the day, she was qualified. So if we can, encourage like objective selection process, it's going to go a long way, because a lot of people find out that, oh, they didn't get in, and then they feel so hurt because the people who got in are not even better than them, experience wise, academic wise, and all whatnot. Yeah. I also encourage that we speak to children, organize like some sort of training for children, speak to them about race, because trust me, these kids don't even know. Some of them just they grew up in the society that already see anyone who is not white as death, right? So if we can actually clamor, have like a seminar, small, not really, or workshop, let me not call it seminar, because workshop for kids, right now because of the pandemic, we can say, okay, we could have like a visual sessions, have kids talk to schools, partner with schools, or we want to talk to people in grade 1 to this, we just want to speak to them, talk to them about race, talk to them about human rights, talk to them that the next person is just like you. You know how you want to be treated, that's the way you should treat the next person. So I think when we speak to kids about race, it's going to go a long way. And if we're going to join like see if we could have like a diversity committee, whether in school or workplace, it's going to help, because sometimes you find out that there are no diversity committees. It's maybe just like now you can see that we have Black Lawyers Association. I feel if we can have the mix that which comprises of both the white and the black in the committee, everybody is involved in the process, everybody is involved in speaking, talking. That's one thing about school. You don't have control of who comes to your school, right? So it's also a diversity committee, but then this one in the sense of trying to foster human rights as the future is now, it's also very good. It should be like a compulsory thing for people who are obviously in the academic or professional world. They should have like diversity committees. It would actually help. And then the last one is to insist on diversity leadership team. Now you will find out that most times that the problem is, even if we have that diversity committees, we find out that there are people that are probably always at the top, the president, the vice president, the board member, the secretary, the this, the that, they're all white people when they're blacks. So I feel if there could be like a mixed leadership, who let it not be all about the whites, because I don't even like the fact that we have the word white and the word black. We're all human beings. So everybody should have the opportunity to get to that high height. Like, so if everybody is comfortable, if everybody is not, oh no, she's black, so let's not give her the position, or let's come together and have our own campaign and then just wriggle her out of it, that committee is not going to go forward. So I feel like if the black people should be involved in everything, just like the way the white people are involved, it's going to go a long way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So basically, I just feel like it's just involved. Keep talking about it. I feel if we start talking with kids, start talking to them, we build the love in them right before they grow up, because there's a certain age you talk to people, it's just like, oh, you're just talking to me, my coffee is getting cold. So yeah, I just think we should just talk to the children right now, have, even if it's not every time, like let's say twice in a year, we organize like a workshop that other children in different schools, no matter your color, no matter, they all join, and then we talk about race. We have children come and debate about, so, because sometimes children get bored, so we try and make it very interesting for them, that they are engaged and interested to talk about it. So these are ways that I feel like we could actually move forward. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are all phenomenal points in terms of like diversifying the ways in which we talk about race. So it's intergenerational, so it stems from young to old and allowing for accessible ways of educating the youth and also those that are, you know, older and adults. And I think that's very true in terms of diversity, having that representation within leadership and in a way that's equitable, inclusive, and is also maintaining the human rights of all. So I think it's you said a lot of really, really strong points. And even to kind of push that forward too is it's so important when we talk about diversity, so that's not performative, it's not tokenistic, that we actually care about the ways in which we support these people to be in leadership positions. It's not enough to just promote someone in these roles. How are you making sure that they can be effective, that they can execute?
I'm not trying to frustrate the position, because sometimes then you find out that, oh, they just give you the pace. Okay, you know what? Here's the floor.
Yeah,
You want to be the president? Fine. And then they frustrate every step
that's the
that you
thing.
take to attain goal. So like you said, you're correct. We have to not just making provisions for those roles, but also supporting them
Mhm.
through their tenure in
Yeah.
those positions.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
And I
correct.
think and I think that completely extends to all types of people. I think when structures are set to cater to a certain person, anybody that doesn't fit that has to accommodate and maneuver and understand how they can work within that structure. So I completely yeah, agree, and I think it's important that for all those that are listening, to just think about the representation. I did hear a quote from James Baldwin. He said, "I may not know how you feel, but I do by the state of your institution." So take a look at your institution. Take a look at who is around you, what's around you, and how you can create better change, so the future is now. So that's all for me here. Thank you so much, Summer. Do you have any last words or anything?
My last words would be, irrespective of where you're from, your color, where you are at the moment, you're respected and recognized. And every Black person all over the world, you are beautiful just as those whites. You are you are powerful, so don't let your power down. So that light that they want to dim, please keep shining. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, and stay tuned for the next person for our series.
Thank you.